Hello everybody, and welcome back to my little collection of videos where I give recommendations to the Hogwarts houses. This time we have Ravenclaw. Woot woot! As a Ravenclaw, I felt extra qualified to give these recommendations, so without further ado, let's get into them. So some of the words that I kept in my mind as I was looking for these recommendations: knowledge, intelligence, wit. So first we have Better, A Surgeon's Notes on Performance by Atul Gawande. I think it's perfect for a Ravenclaw because a Ravenclaw seeks to learn, partly for learning's sake, but also to improve, right? And to make a difference in the world. So I think this book is interesting for Ravenclaws for two reasons. First, they get to learn, right? They get to learn about the medical field, they get to learn about surgeons and their day-to-day lives and what they're dealing with and the decisions they have to make. And second, you see the reflections of a surgeon talking about his industry, talking about the ethical dilemmas that they face, how surgeons sometimes get it wrong, how the industry could better support surgeons, and why it's so hard to be in that kind of position and admit that you've made a mistake. I think that is so brave of him to write something like this because, again, we kind of put those jobs on a pedestal that these people are smarter than the rest of us, they're more knowledgeable than the rest of us, but they're still human and they still make mistakes. And I think there's so much to learn from that. And I think as Ravenclaws, we can get very perfectionistic and start to either feel like an imposter or believe our own hype. So having a reminder that it's a journey. There's no end point. You're always going to learn more. You can always do better. And that it's okay and oftentimes beneficial to admit you made a mistake, I think is a really good read. Next, we have Unmentionable, A Victorian Lady's Guide by Therese O'Neill. So this one's really interesting because Ravenclaws, we like a good trivia. We like to be able to spout off some quotes, some interesting facts that most people don't know of. Because yes, we like all sorts of knowledge and intelligence, but we also like the really niche stuff so that we can slip it in to a conversation and be like, oh yeah, it was like, well, did you actually know? But like, really, that's incorrect. Like, oh, that's a stereotype or that's a myth. Like, we like to know just a little bit more at a party or in a conversation than the next person. And so having this fun trivia that kind of breaks down the things we thought we knew about the Victorian era is excellent. It gets straight to the fun, quirky, weird stuff, everything from how they dressed to how they went to bed, the whole gambit. Crazy, interesting things from the things that we get wrong or misunderstand about that era and how people live, all the way to just like really niche details that most people don't know of. It comes with pictures. Highly recommend checking it out. You'll thank me. Next, we have Pachinka by Min Jin Lee. Yes, I'm mentioning it again. I think that Ravenclaws would like Pachinko because they indirectly learn so much about the time period, about these different countries, the psychology of how they interact with other people. And I think that's such an element of curiosity for Ravenclaws. You know, like there's so many different things that interest us. And I think some of that is language, culture, history, and this book has all of it. So highly recommend, get your full nerd on, and it's a chunker. So you'll have some nice reading for a good length of time, which we all know Ravenclaws love a thick book. Then we have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I heard someone refer to this book as like Hogwarts with student loans. And I thought that was a brilliant example of it. You have this more scientific style of magic, but you still have the fantastical element of a magical world, and like just the craft it takes to make that kind of world I think is intriguing and draws you in. But then the fact that you have kind of this like strategic mathematical calculation of like, okay, I need to earn X amount for next semester. How am I going to do that? Like, I need to go here and there and do this and that. I think geeking out over the magic style, geeking out over like the economic currency system, the culture is created, like it's a really rich world and there's so many different things that you can sink your teeth into. I think that immersive experience is something that Ravenclaws really dig because they can appreciate the architecture of how they got there, and also to get out of their own mind for a while and sink into a different mind, a different world is awesome. for an overthinking Ravenclaw. Last but not least, we have New Poets of New Nations, edited by Hyde E. Edric. It's an anthology of poetry from Native Americans, indigenous peoples, and I think it's right up a Ravenclaw's alley. But you also have the importance there. You have this knowledge that has been pushed to the side. You have this cultural narrative that's been pushed to the side, and I think Ravenclaws are big about digging out what might be buried and revealing it and giving it new life. Also, I think Ravenclaws are a bit of the hipsters of the Hogwarts bunch, and poetry is such a key hipster thing. Like, getting into other things that not the average person gets into, big Ravenclaw trait. And so you have this wide range of these different poets. You know, it's an anthology full of these great and interesting and even experimental poems. It's something that you wouldn't necessarily stumble across. I think that is really of value to Ravenclaw, that they're getting into the root of the knowledge. You also have, I think, a good need for own voices with a Ravenclaw, like the idea of let's get to the heart of the matter, let's hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So I'd love to hear if I hit the mark with these recommendations. Do you think that they are good for a Ravenclaw? Are you going to pick them up? What other books would you add to the list? I would love to have a whole collection of recommendations down in the comments below. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!